نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا وسيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلوات الله وسلامه وبركاته عليه يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم يغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما أما بعد فإن خير الكلام كلام الله وأحسن الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار. We continue in the chapter of Kitab al-Nikah and Buloogh al-Maraam by the great illustrious scholar Ahmed ibn Ali ibn Shihab al-Asqalani al-Mashhur bi al-Hafidh ibn Hajar rahimahullah rahmatu wasi', as he put in this tremendous treatise entitled Buloogh al-Maraam. And we continue, and from the chapters of Kitab al-Nikah was Husnul Ishrat al-Nisa, or having those good dealings with the spouses or the families, in regards to what is binding upon or what is the rights of the spouses in regards to their marriage flourishing and being prosperous, and also being longevity. We said, Ya ma'ashar al-ikhwa al-akhawat, we stopped at the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ when Ibn Umar, and we finished it, where the Prophet ﷺ had cursed the wasila mustawsila. Also, likewise, I apologize to the sisters for not able to do the research on the fatwa that I received last week, which I will do it this weekend when I return back to Philadelphia, because a lot of my resources are there. So I'm going to return back and I'm going to do my research, and then I'll get back to them for that question about the coral mill in regards to the yarn for the women putting it in their hair. The coral mill, I think it is, if I'm not mistaken. And looked at fatwa which al-Imam Muhammad bin Salih al-Uthaymi mentioned in, it was in Zad al-Mustaqna. It was in there. Or in the, that was the resource of the fatwa, it was back to Zad al-Mustaqna. But I'll check it, inshallah, when I return back to Philadelphia. At any rate, the authority Ibn Umar, that we finished the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, that he cursed the one or the woman who's wasila wal mustawsila, about the woman who puts the weave in another woman's hair, and also the woman who seeks to get it done. And all those different matters that we covered from last week, and inshallah is clear, so we don't have to review that which we took from last class, but will suffice for what we took from the class previously, and we'll move on to the next hadith now. The next hadith in the chapter, if you flip the page, is on the authority of Juthama binti Wahb. Juthamata binti Wahb رضي الله عنها وأرضاها قالت حضرت رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم في أناس وهو يقول لقد هممت أن أنهى عن الغيلة فنظرت في الروم وفارس فإذا هم يغيلون أولادهم فلا يضر ذلك أولادهم شيئا ثم سألوه عن العزل فقال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم ذلك الوأد الخفي رواه مسلم. The hadith of Juthama binti Wahb, and all these ahadith basically coincide and is relative to the topic of today. It's relative to the topic today. What the Prophet ﷺ said, Juthama binti Wahb, she said that I attended, meaning there was a gathering of the Prophet ﷺ with the people. And inshallah we'll extract the benefit from this hadith that the Prophet ﷺ was social. He used to gather with the people. He used to gather around them and sit with them. He says, and he said, verily, لَقَدْ أَهْمَمْتُ, that I had the desire in order to prohibit from what they call al-ghila. Al-ghila. We'll talk about what al-ghila mean in the different types, inshallah, after we mention all the ahadith. He says, so I looked to the people of Rome and the people of Persia, the people of Rum and the people of Faris, the people of Rome and the people of what? Persia. As we lack of better words, of those powerful nations at that time was Rome and it was what? In Persia. As we know, both of them fell. After the revelations were sent, both of the nations they fell. And they were the most, at that particular time, considered the most powerful nations in all the lands. It was Rome and it was Persia. He said, for verily, they used to perform ghila with their children. Like I said, we'll talk about the meaning of ghila. And فَلَا يَضُرُّ ذَلِكَ أَوْلَادَهُمْ شَيْئًا, and that would not harm their children anything in the least. Then they asked, meaning the people that was in the gathering, the Prophet ﷺ, about al-azl, meaning what we say to pull out while a person is in the midst of being intimate with his wife or the spouse, or what they call Coitus Interruptus for the people who's a little bit more, if you want to get a little bit more complex. ثم سألوه عن العزل فقال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم, he said that is al-wa'd al-khafi. He said that's considered al-wa'd al-khafi. That is called the less or the hidden type of burial alive of the children. We'll talk about the meaning of the hadith inshallah. Also on the authority of Abu Sa'id al-Khudri, if you read the next hadith right directly under it, like we said, all these narrations are what? They're all connected with each other. أَنَا رَجُلًا قَالَ يَا رَسُولَ اللَّهِ إِنَّ لِي جَارِيَةً وَأَنَا أَعْزِلُ عَنْهَا وَأَنَا أَكْرَهُ أَن تَحْمُلْ وَأَنَا أُرِيدُ مَا يُرِيدُ الرِّجَالِ وَإِنَّ الْيَهُودَ تَحَدَّثَ أَنَّ الْعَزْلَ الْمَوْءُودَةُ الصُّغْرَى قال كذبت اليهود. وفي رواية كرره ثلاثا كذبت اليهود كذبت اليهود كذبت اليهود لو أراد الله يخلقه ما استطعت أن تصرفه. رواه أبو داود ورواه أحمد أبو داود لفظ له والنسائي والطحاوي ورجال ثقات. وصححه الإمام الألباني also. For extra benefit, الإمام الألباني declared it صحيح. وعن جابر بن عبد الله رضي الله عنه وأرضاه. Excuse me, I didn't say it. Verily, O Messenger of Allah, I have a concubine. And I perform azl, or that Coitus Interruptus, or I pull out in the midst of while I'm intimate with her. Meaning at the time when, of course, we know when the man reaches his peak and he withdraws. He says, and I detest that she will have a child from me. I detest or I hate that she would carry or become pregnant from having a child. He says, and I want what the men want. And verily the Yahud, or from the Jews, they say that al-azl, or that withdrawal or withdrawing, is al-maw'udatu sughra. It's considered the minor type of wa'd, meaning the burial of the child while she's alive, or he or she is alive. We'll talk about that all inshallah. It's not just specifically for the bint or for the little girl. There was also a group from the Arab during the time, but before the time of the Prophet ﷺ, that they also used to bury the males also. They used to bury the females and the males together. Not only just the female, that was more prevalent and that was more of what they used to do. But there was also a ta'ifa from the Arab that also used to bury the males. Used to bury them alive. Used to bury their children alive. So the Yahud had described that type of action, meaning withdrawing, while one is being intimate. They described it as being al-maw'udatu sughra, the minor wa'd, that minor type of action of burying one's child alive. قال كذبت اليهود. Verily the Jews have lied. There's another narration that Imam al-Albani had also declared authentic, where the Prophet ﷺ had mentioned it 3 times. He said, كذبت اليهود, كذبت اليهود, كذبت اليهود. That's in another narration. It's not in Buloogh al-Maraam, but in another source. I've done the research, and Imam al-Albani said that the Prophet ﷺ mentioned it 3 times. He says, if Allah Ta'ala wanted to create the child, He says, you will not be able to what? مَا اسْتَطَعْتَ أَن تَصْرِفَهُ. You will never be able to what? To stop that affair. Once Allah Ta'ala wants an affair, you will not be able to change it. Or you'll never not be able to take it away. The next hadith, so you have hadith of Judhama binti Wahb, hadith Abu Sa'id al-Khudri. Who's Abu Sa'id al-Khudri's name? His name was Sa'd ibn Malik ibn Sinan. Sa'd ibn Malik ibn Sinan as Abu Sa'id al-Khudri, just like Abu Musa al-Ash'ari's name is Abdullah ibn Qais. So Abu Sa'id al-Khudri's name was Sa'd ibn Malik ibn Sinan. And then you likewise have, like we said, Abu Musa al-Ash'ari, whose name was Abdullah ibn Qais. And Abdullah ibn Qais was also Yemeni, just like Abu Hurairah was Yemeni. All of them was also from Yemen. Abu Hurairah was Yemeni, and also likewise Abu Musa al-Ash'ari was Yemeni. The tribe of Ash'ari is a tribe that's well known, and it originally emanates from Yemen. Just Abu al-Hasan al-Ash'ari, his nasab goes back to, they say, to Abu Musa al-Ash'ari. But the tribe of Ash'ari, well, like we said, is the original tribe that emanated from where? From Yemen. طيب. So also it said, ما أريد, it says, the next hadith. So you have Jabir ibn Abdullah, radiyallahu anhu, ardah. He said, قال كنا نعزل على عهد رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم والقرآن ينزل. When the authority Jabir ibn Abdullah said that we used to perform azl, meaning we used to withdraw during the time of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, meaning while we were intimate with our spouses, that we used to perform azl, we used to withdraw. During the time of the Prophet ﷺ and the Quran was being revealed. And if it was something, listen to what Jabir ibn Abdullah said specifically. He said if it was something that was prohibited, the Prophet ﷺ or the Quran would have sent something down prohibiting us or forbidding us to what? Or forbidding us to do this action. And the hadith is what? Muttafaqun alayh. Forbidding us to do this action. Well, in Muslim, there's another narration of Jabir ibn Abdullah. He said that it reached the Prophet ﷺ that we used to do this. And the Prophet ﷺ did not what? Prohibit us. He did not forbid us. So this next hadith, all 3 of these hadith are what? All of them are pertinent and they are connected to one another. So you have one hadith, if you notice in the hadith of Judhama, prohibiting it. Then if you look into the other ahadith, or the second one, as if it's not prohibited, the first hadith of Judhama, you would take from it that is what? Prohibited. Forbidden. It's impermissible. Shar'an. As far as in Kitab and Sunnah, whatever you want, it's impermissible. Based upon the first hadith. Then you have the second hadith, but what you would take from it, what you understand from it when you see it, as if it's detested. He said that. There's another narration as we'll talk about, where the Prophet ﷺ had asked them, do you do this? Do you do this? Do you do this? I'll bring all the narrations because there's more than this, just than the ones that's written here. Matter of fact, I'll bring all of them, inshallah. But anyway, just to gather between and sum up everything in a nutshell, number 1, you find the hadith is what? It shows as if it's impermissible. You would think that it's impermissible. That the hukum is, or the ruling regards to withdrawing, that one should not do it is forbidden in our religion. طيب. Then you have the other narrations that if it insinuates and shows that it's detested. But you still can do it. Then you have another hadith that shows that the Prophet ﷺ did not prohibit it. So you think that is what? Permissible. طيب. So how do we gather between all these different narrations? There's another narration on Jabir ibn Abdullah because I want to add to what we have here. If you look to the hadith of Jabir, which is the last hadith which is mentioned in your books, there's another narration that complements the hadith of Jabir. There's another one. Where the Prophet ﷺ also mentioned a narration and said, "I'zil anha in shit." Withdraw from her if you want. فَإِنَّهُ سَيَأْتِيهَا مَا قُدِّرَ لَهَا. Verily is going to come to her what Allah has destined for her to have, and what Allah has preordained and destined for her to have. فَلَبِثَ الرَّجُلُ. Listen, so the man, he remained, he made a period of time elapse. And he was still doing and performing that with that, what they call Coitus Interruptus, or withdrawing from her. Then he came to the Prophet ﷺ. He said, O Messenger of Allah, إِنَّ الْجَارِيَةَ قَدْ حَبَلَتْ. So he says, O Messenger of Allah, verily, the concubine, or the female slave that I had, she's pregnant now. So the narration says here, the Imam al-Albani says, وَقَدْ أَخْبَرْتُكَ أَنَّهُ سِيَأْتِيهَا مَا قُدِّرَ لَهَا. Verily, I told you and I informed you that it's going to come to her what is destined and written for her, regardless. طيب. How do we gather between all these different narrations? Number one, before we talk about the actual hukum on this act, we want to break down what is the different meanings. Notice the Prophet ﷺ mentioned what? Two affairs in the hadith. He mentioned number one, ghila. Then he mentioned azl. One narration mentioned what? Ghila. What is ghila? And we'll talk about azl after that. Azl, I think, is apparent, self-explanatory, as I just mentioned it probably 4 or 5 times. But now what is the meaning of ghila? Ghila ya ma'ash al-ikhwa. The meaning of what they call ghila is with a ghain. Ghain is a ghain. Ya la ghain ya lam ta marbuta. That's that page. No. Sorry, everyone. Jayyin. That the Prophet ﷺ was explaining what is the meaning of ghila. Ghila ya ma'ash al-ikhwa. Number one, before we actually give the details, like we talked about before, when we have the opportunity, we always take the opportunity in order to remind ourselves of how complete, or what they say, the shumuliyah, how comprehensive our religion is. It's so comprehensive to the extent that we know what is permissible for us, even in the aspect of what's pertaining to the affairs of being intimate with our spouses. We have a hadith of what even to show, is it permissible for us to even perform what they call withdrawal. We take that in a manner because we want to be serious. We're not going to laugh and say, hoo. We're being serious. These type of affairs shows that Allah Ta'ala has revealed this religion to the point it's given us everything that we need to know and need to have in order to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala properly. Meaning, what's in the boundaries that Allah has set in order to enjoy ourselves of us being human beings, and also what is coincides with what Allah ta'ala is pleased with, or what He's displeased with. As rest of religions don't have this. The rest of the religions what? Do not have this. They don't know. You used to ask the Christians and the Jews right now, do you have something in your book that talks about these affairs specifically in this type of detail? They don't have anything. And if it has, more than likely it's either haqq, or it might be what? Some batil put in it, due to the fact that it was removed in somebody. From man had put his own opinion, or his own ideologies, or his own input inside of the book. To the point where wahi has been mixed with what is just merely man-made. But our religion, walillahi alhamdu minna, you see that we have narrations, chains, all of them are still there, still intact to know whether or not this is actually pure revelation, and it has been authentically reported upon our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, or is it weak and it's been fabricated? We have all the sciences to break it down to whether or not, to show whether or not that affair has been what? Established. We have that. They don't have that, which shows and increases our iman that which we're upon is the haqq. And that's what Shaykh Abdul-Rahman al-Sa'di used to always mention. We have the opportunity to stop at certain affairs, especially when it's pertaining to these type of ahadith. You should always try to show the mahasin ad-din, to try to show how the beautiful aspects of the religion and how comprehensive it is. Because you'll never find a religion in the dunya or anything which the people are upon except you'll find that the religion is so in depth as far as its details and as far as what to do, even the affairs with our spouses, of what is our huquq, what is our rights upon our spouses, of their rights upon us and their rights upon our rights upon them, and even to the aspect of, like we said, what is permissible even with us being intimate with our spouses. There's a narration clarifying it and showing a detail of it. And this is another thing to what? To show that. And to prove that point that I'm making right now is this hadith, or these narrations. So, what is ghila? Ghila, as you'll see, subhanAllah, look how comprehensive Islam is and comprehensive our religion is. Look to the hadith, the meaning of ghila. What is the meaning of ghila? Ghila means either one of two things. It's to be intimate with a woman that's pregnant. To be intimate with a woman that's hamil. To be intimate with a woman that's pregnant. That's considered the meaning, or one of the meanings of what? Ghila. The second meaning of al-ghila is إرضاع الحامل. يعني أن يطأ الإنسان امرأته وهي ترضع أو أن ترضع المرأة ولدها وهي حامل. Or the second statement of ghila is when the woman is breastfeeding. Meaning that the man is being intimate with his wife while she's breastfeeding. So the woman is breastfeeding her child, and she could be pregnant. So it means either what? Number one, what everyone? Number one, this is the reason why I tell you guys to bring your books with you. Because if I ask you guys this next week, I don't remember. Number one is, it's the reason why I tell you guys to bring your books and bring your notebooks. All the time. I think since I've been here a year and 3 months, I've been telling brothers to do it. I've been saying it. And sisters too. Number one, either for a person to be intimate, what? While she's pregnant. For the man to be intimate with his spouse while she's what? Hamil, while she's pregnant. That's called ghila. That's one of the statements. Number two, that she's either intimate with his wife while she's breastfeeding. To be intimate with her while she's breastfeeding. So upon the first meaning, the prohibition would be upon the reason, the sabab. Meaning that the child is already what? There. So why would a man be intimate in order to what? In order to intend a child when she's already pregnant. That's upon the first meaning of what? Ghila. Upon the second meaning, that if the woman is breastfeeding and she might be pregnant at the same time, because that's also what? A probability. Both. And he's still being what? Intimate with her. So they say that the woman and all these different different types of obstacles that she's going through in her body, basically she's breastfeeding, and at the same time she's pregnant, and the husband is still what? Being intimate with her. So she has all these things going on at the same time with her body. So they say that in this instance, it might harm the what? The baby. It might harm the baby. Either depletion of the milk for the child, or the child that she's bearing, or the child that she's pregnant with, it might harm him. You understand what I'm saying? So it can either be one of the two things. It might harm the child that's being breastfed, or the child that's what? That she's trying to bear, or the child that's in the womb. Just to bring everything all together, this is the meaning of ghila. Just to break down the meaning of ghila. So it either can mean, like we said, just the woman being the woman being pregnant, he's intimate with her. Or it could be what? She could be breastfeeding. While she's breastfeeding, she might not be pregnant, but she's just breastfeeding. Or it could be both at the same time. She'd be pregnant, breastfeeding, and what? And he's still being intimate with her. So you say, based upon this aspect, this shows how what comprehensive our religion is. Because if you was even to ask the Jews and the Christians, do you know what's the ruling in regards to what pleases Allah in regards to these matters? If a woman is pregnant, what you can do, what you can't do? They don't have anything. Us in our religion, we have what? A text to show us whether or not what is what? Permissible. So the Prophet ﷺ had mentioned the hadith. This is the meaning of ghila. This is the meaning of what? Ghila. It can mean one of those three meanings. Notice in the narration, the Prophet ﷺ said that I looked to what? Rum and Faris. I looked to what? I looked to Rome, and I looked to also what? Persia. He said when the Prophet ﷺ had looked to them, and they used to do this. They used to perform ghila. It says, فَإِذَا هُمْ يَغِيلُونَ أَوْلَادَهُمْ. That Rome and Persia used to what? Perform this act, what they call ghila. They used to be intimate with their what? Of course, you know the kuffar would do more than that. But from the things they would do, one of the things they would do is this. If their spouse or what have you was pregnant, then they would still be intimate with them, and then they will bear children, or the wife or the woman will have a child, and the child will come out fine. So the Prophet ﷺ said he's seen and looked to them and found out that what? They had no harm, or no harm to the child would come as a result of this matter. Nothing. What happened? Nothing. Absolutely anything. So the Prophet ﷺ had mentioned and said that when I looked to Rome and Persia, and they used to perform this, and I seen that it did not harm their children, what? Anything in the least. Shaykh Muhammad ibn Salih al-Uthaymeen, he mentioned in regards to the Prophet ﷺ saying they looked to Faris and Rum. And he looked to Persia and he looked to Rome. As we know, and he says in the Jazirat al-Arab, that Rome used to be above of that which today of Saudi Arabia, but if you look in the north, that's where they used to be prevalent, or that's where they used to have their land, that's where they used to be at. It used to be in the northern part of the Jazirat al-Arab. Persia used to be on the Sharq, they used to be in the eastern part. As you know, that Persia was upon the deen of what they call Majusiyyah, meaning they used to worship the fire, or light of fire. Rome, majority of them were what? Christians. He said, but however, all of them during that time were all kuffar. فنظر الرسول صلى الله عليه وسلم في حالهم فإذا هم يغيلون أولادهم فلا يضر ذلك أولادهم شيئا. So when the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم had looked to the state of Rome and Persia, he left off the prohibition of ghila. So this shows that ghila, what in our religion, is permissible. It is what? Permissible. Ghila is what? Permissible. And that's also in what? To show also how the Prophet ﷺ, how he knew that this type of matter would be a what? A haraj upon his ummah. That this will also cause a type of what? Hardship upon his ummah. As we know, the Prophet ﷺ, if he was given that which is of those two affairs and considered, and one of them was considered the hardest, he would what? He would take the what? What's the most easiest of the two? From those affairs such as, for example, and we have a lot of different types of what examples of this. One of Salat al-Isha, where the Prophet ﷺ had mentioned during the Amatu al-Layl قد مضت. فقال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم إنها لوقتها لولا أن شقاء أمتي. He said إنها لوقتها. When the half of the night had elapsed and they had passed, when it came in the middle of the night, the Prophet ﷺ had said, verily right now this is its time. Meaning that the preferable time for Isha is also what? Almost to the middle of the night. That's the preferable time for Isha. But notice the Prophet ﷺ said in the last part of the hadith, if it had not been a burden upon my ummah, that I knew it was going to be a hardship. But this is, if this was Isha, or if I wanted to make Isha, the preferable time would be right now. Meaning at that particular time, but the Prophet ﷺ knew that it was going to be a what? It was going to be a hardship upon his ummah. And also likewise the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, as we know, لولا أن شق على أمتي لأمرتهم بالسواك عند كل صلاة. لأمرتهم بالسواك عند كل صلاة. Also the Prophet ﷺ said that if I known it was been a burden upon my ummah, that I would have what? He said I would have commanded them to perform that siwak, of that which is keeping their breath and their teeth clean, for every salah. But he knew that it would be a haraj, with that which is a hardship upon the ummah. So the Prophet ﷺ had took what was easiest for his ummah, due to the fact that he knew it was going to be a hardship upon him. Another from those affairs is what we're mentioning now. If you notice in the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ here, The Prophet ﷺ also realized that this will also be a what? A burden upon his ummah, as Shaykh Zayd ibn Hadi Madkhali had also mentioned, rahimahullah, in the sharh of this hadith. He said that the Prophet ﷺ had lifted the haraj, or the difficulty, or that which is a hardship upon his ummah, where he took the easiest of affairs, even in this matter, what we're talking about right now, which is pertaining to ghila. Knowing that it would be a what? A hardship upon his ummah of that which is agreements to a man's desires. Agreements with what? Will be suitable for a man's desires. Meaning a man will have to leave off about 7 months to maybe 8 months, not being intimate with his spouse. And the Prophet ﷺ what? Has him took, what? Sheesh, what's going on the sister side? Huh? That's upstairs? Well, they made bara'ah quick for that one. Huh? I was like, it wasn't us. Somebody upstairs? Somebody's upstairs? I heard a thump. Huh? Who's up there? Oh, yonder. What was I saying? I lost train of thought. No. So the hardship of the Prophet ﷺ, that he raised the hardship upon the ummah by knowing that a man will have to what? This long duration, this period that will have to elapse, and it would be a what? A hardship. Upon some men, of course, that's a hardship. I think a lot of men would consider that a hardship. So, for that reason, the Prophet ﷺ had what? Said this matter is permissible for a man to be intimate with his wife while she's pregnant or breastfeeding or what have you. طيب. Also, the Prophet ﷺ, there's a benefit I wanted to read, even Shaykh Uthaymeen mentioned about when the Prophet ﷺ looked to Rome and Persia. What's in pertaining to that, and what's some fawaid that we extract, or some benefits extracted from that statement of the Prophet ﷺ here. طيب, he says here, he said, وَالطَّبَائِعُ الْبَشَرِيَّةِ لَا تَخْتَلَفِ اخْتِلَافِ الدِّينِ. He said, Ar-Rum and Faris, when the Prophet ﷺ looked to their state, he knows he's looking at the aspect, not at the fact of the aspect of the deen. He wasn't looking from that aspect. Because we know what they're upon is shirk and kufr. He said he was looking at them from the aspect of them being bashar. Of them being what? Human. Of them being what? Human. Not the aspect of them being what? Of their aspect of what they're upon of the deen. Of course we know the aspect of religion, is batil. He said, for Faris, bashar. وَالطَّبَائِعُ الْبَشَرِيَّةِ لَا تَخْتَلِفُ بِاخْتِلَافِ الدِّينِ. He says because of the natural inclination or the natural innate nature or human nature. He says it's not different, even if it's different in their religions. He says it's still their what? Their nature of them being human is still the same in that aspect. He said, لِأَنَّهَا مِن مُقْتَضَى الطَّبِيعَةِ, from that which is of something natural. ولكن لا شك أن الإيمان قد يزيد الغرائز الطيبة ويزيدها قوة. He said, no doubt though, having the correct haqq and being upon the correct iman, listen to how Shaykh Uthaymeen closely chose his words. Carefully. just say, you're human and diyana. Listen. He said, we had no doubt that iman and being upon Islam and being upon the truth, yazid al-gharaiz al-tayyiba quwwa. He says it increases the what? The gharaiz. He says it increases the ghariza, or that which is the type of ghariza al-tayyiba, that which is the senses in the human being, or that which is of his nature, it increases it in strength of him being upon iman and haqq, no doubt. He says, لكن الأصل, but however the origin is الطبائع. Well, look at the word غريزة for me, غريزة, just to make sure. يزيدها قوة. However, the asl is that the natural inclination, innate nature of the human being. He said that Muslims and the kafir are what? Equal in that affair, as far as them being what? Human in their bodies. He said, but no doubt, by iman, just keep that in mind, it increases the ghariza, or the gharaiz, or those good type of gharaiz. You found it? Ghariza. What is it? What is it? Alhamdulillah. What was it? Impulse? Instinct? All those type of natural disposition? Alhamdulillah. I thought that was increases the type of instinct or natural disposition of the human being in strength. Him being upon iman. Because we know that a person that's upon kufr, if Allah Ta'ala wants to what? Make you sad and depressed, no one can stop it. No one can stop it except Allah. No one. Allah Ta'ala, if He wants to what? Throw sadness and grief in one's heart, nobody can stop it. No one. You can have the most greatest cars, you can have even the best of husband and the best of wife. If Allah Ta'ala wants to keep throwing grief, sadness, and depression in your heart, no one can stop it. You understand, everyone? So it has to do to the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, where the Prophet ﷺ said, "Inna Allah minni abdu wa ibnu ammatik nasiyati fi yadik ma'adha fi hukm wa adlu fi qada asarka bi kulli ismin huwa lak sammayta bihi nafsak aw anzaltahu fi kitabik aw 'allamtahu ahada bi khalqik aw istatharta bihi fi 'ilm al-ghayb 'indaka taj'al al-Qur'ana rabi'a qalbi wa nur sadri wa jala'a huzni wa dhahaba hammi." That hadith, which is, if you recite it, he says the hadith in the last part of the narration, he said, "Ma ya'ta aw ma yakun hadha ad-du'a," the Prophet, the slave, recite this dua. He said, "Illa anna Allah baddala huznahu faraha." Except that Allah Ta'ala will change his sadness and grief into rejoicement. So if you memorize that dua. But anyway, we know that iman, ya ma'ashal ikhwan, being upon the haqq, will increase that impulse and those natural disposition in what? In strength. However, the asl is that the natural, or that natural type of human, of what they call of one being a human being, Muslim and a kafir, of course we know, is equal in it. That's the asl. And what happens to them of them being sick? Same thing happens to a Muslim. They become sick. Sometimes you're healthy. Sometimes you're what? Sick. Those type of matters. He said, when you look in the ayah, what Allah Ta'ala says in His book, "O nisa'ihin." There's an ayah which is in Surah An-Nur, ayah number 31. Can you look at it? Surah An-Nur, ayah number 31. He said, if you look to the ayah where Allah Ta'ala says, "They are women." They're women. They're women in that ayah, you will notice, is it talking about the nisa of the mu'minat or the nisa al-bashar? Shaykh Uthaymeen mentions that he's talking about the nisa, the women of that which is from humanity, meaning just in general. That is because the women are the same as far as them being in the aspect of the natural disposition of being human beings. Barely be a kafir or a Muslim. There's no difference between them. But in this affair, we're looking to what is what? What is known. Meaning that every woman that we know, whether they be a kafir or a Muslim, all of them have a mince, all of them get pregnant, all of them have desires, all of them, to the end of it. Same. In that aspect. ثُمَّ سَأَلُوهُ عَنْ عَزْلٍ. And the Prophet ﷺ had asked them about azl, and that we'll talk about in a couple of minutes, inshallah. But we still wanted to talk about al-ghila before we start thinking about giving the details as pertains to azl, withdrawing. طيب. Right now. Notice that the Prophet ﷺ had did a legislation based upon, this is a bit of it. The Prophet ﷺ had did a legislation based upon what he had what? What he observed, where he gave an ijtihad from it. Where he thought would be what? What he thought that he gave in his opinion of what he was looking based upon what he observed. And it became a tashri', and it became a legislation in our religion. However, Allah Ta'ala what? Allah Ta'ala had ratified it and what? And confirmed it with him, alayhi salatu wasalam. By not revealing an ayat, because we know the wahi is what? Infallible. If it was something that was incorrect and it was pertaining to something that was legislation, there will always be a what? An ayat to come down. That's what they call, you will find in fiqh, constantly this statement being repeated. لا يجوز وقت البيان عن وقت الحاجة. You'll find that always being what? Repetitive in books of fiqh when it pertains to these matters. Anything in the aspect of the wahi, if it was something that's legislated in our religion and something that's important, which is vital, because this affair is pertaining to a lot of people. So we have to know what is correct in it. So if it was something that was what? If it was something that was incorrect, the ayat would have been sent down. But Allah Ta'ala what? There was no ayat forbidding that, so it became what? A tashri'. It became something legislated. Based upon his observation of what? Of what he's seen was taking place with what? With Rum and Faris. You understand, everyone? Is it clear what I'm saying? Is it clear? For example, there's another ayah where Allah Ta'ala talked about the munafiqeen in Surah Al-Ahzab. It's either Surah Al-Tawbah or Surah Al-Ahzab or Surah Al-Nur. It's one of the three. I think Surah Al-Ahzab. It's got to be Surah Al-Ahzab. There's an ayah where Allah Ta'ala says in His book about the munafiqeen that of some of the munafiqeen, some of them had asked permission for the Prophet ﷺ for what? Not to go out in battle. So the Prophet ﷺ adhina lahum. He had what? He gave them permission. Notice Allah Ta'ala said in His book, لَقَدْ عَفَى اللَّهُ عَنْكَ لِمَا أَذِنْتَ لَهُمْ حَتَّى يَتَبَيَّنَ لَكَ الَّذِينَ صَدَقُوا وَتَعْلَمَ الْكَاذِبِينَ. Allah Ta'ala says in His book, but it's the ayah to clarify that what? Of course, we know the Prophet ﷺ was bashar. He did things based upon his what? Observation of what appeared to him, of what he's seen. He didn't know the unseen unless Allah sent something down of revelation to tell him about affairs of the unseen, what he didn't know that was taking place. And we know those things have happened before, where certain ayats was sent down in order to clarify things that took place in other places. And Allah Ta'ala had what? Had showed him, alayhi salatu wasalam. For what happened with the munafiqeen, the Prophet ﷺ had what? Had also gave them permission. But Allah Ta'ala says He has what? Excused you. Afallahu ank. Excused you. When you gave them permission. Until it becomes clear to you who are those who are truthful and those who what? Until you know also those who are liars. Those type of ayats and similar to that, we said that the Prophet ﷺ, ﷺ will have the tashri' based upon his what? Based upon his certain matters in this aspect, based upon his ijtihad, upon his opinion, or what he see, alayhi salatu wasalam, what he's seen of his observation. I shouldn't say opinion, but what he's seen of his observation. And Allah Ta'ala will what? Confirm it by not sending that ayah down. That was a form of what? Tashri'. If Allah Ta'ala didn't send it down, or something in order to clarify, especially with affairs of religion. Because we know affairs of religion and tashri' is what they call tawqifi. It's something that is all based upon evidence and proofs. And if it was something, especially something this pertinent and important to the ummah, Allah Ta'ala will send the ayah down, what? Clarifying what is correct and what is incorrect. You understand, everyone? Because you will find this statement, and this statement you have to memorize it. لا يجوز وقت البيان لا يجوز تأخير البيان عن وقت الحاجة. It's not permissible that during the time of the Prophet ﷺ, in affairs of the religion, that the clarity or that which was clarified to be the haqq will be put off, especially during the time of need. There will always be an ayah that Allah will send down to clarify the haqq, to send something down to see what is true or what is what? Impermissible. And if it was something important, Allah Ta'ala will what? Would have clarified what is the haqq and what's not the haqq from it. You understand, everyone? Is it clear? طيب. During the time of the Prophet, so everyone knows now the hukm pertaining to ghila. So now we go on down to pertaining to what is pertaining to azl, what they call withdrawing, or what they call Coitus Interruptus, or withdrawing. You're funny, Coitus Interruptus. Funny guy, you are so funny. SubhanAllah, you're funny. Anyway, طيب, azl. Notice these narrations, ya ma'ashal ikhwa. As al-Hafiz says in his poetry, he says, وَالْعَزْلَ عَنْهُ قَدْ نَهَى النَّبِيِّ لَكِنَّهُمَا تَرْخِيصُهُ مَرْوِي. As al-Hafiz said in his poetry, he said that it's a poetry where he said, Hafiz al-Hagami, he says that it's a narration that shows the Prophet ﷺ is prohibiting it. But there's another narration that shows that is what? Permissible. No. Just listen. واختلفوا في الجمع منهم فمن ذا النهي تنزيها وبعضهم حمل جوازه في أمة ويمتنع عن حرة بدون إذن فاستمع. To the end of it. طيب, we're going to talk about that all right now. What is the details pertaining to all these narrations that we just mentioned? Saying, first you read one hadith, you think azl being withdrawing is impermissible. Then you have one thinking that is what? That's impermissible. Or you have a narration that shows that it's as if it's detested. How do we gather all between these narrations? I'll read the Kalam of Imam al-Albani, and this is which will put everything in perspective, because he makes a good jama'. He gathers between all the narrations very nicely. Rahimahullah. He said, Jawaz al-azl. Listen to what he says. يجوز له يعزل عنها ما وفيه أحاديث. The permissibility. This is what Imam al-Albani clearly says. The permissibility of what? Of azl. But it's with what? Certain conditions. Certain conditions. First, it has to be what? Number one. It's only permissible if the two spouses are in agreement. The man and the woman. Now, a man has to what? Seek permission from his wife. Yes. A man has to lower his ego, and he has to ask his wife. You understand, everyone? Yes. You have to get rid of your ego here and ask your wife. Does she want that? Because a woman wants a child. Women want to have children. It's in the child. That's how Allah created them. Right, everyone? For a person performing this type of matter, what does it do? Even though there's the narration that says if Allah wants to affair, He's not going to stop it, but Allah Ta'ala, for every sabab, He makes a what? Musabbab. For anything that's a musabbab, there's a sabab, For anything that Allah brings about affair, He makes what? A reason for it coming about. For example, children comes about as what? Marriage, and also one being what? Intimate. Tayyib. So, for those matters, we say that you have to ask your wife. That's number one condition. You have to ask. Number two. Why? Because you'll find that the ulama, even Sheikh Salih Fawzan mentioned this in the Sharh. He says because what happens is the woman loses out on what? Wanting to have a child. And she wants to have children. And if she wants to have children, you have to what? Do your best to want to give it to her, try to help your efforts towards trying to actualize that and facilitate for her. And from that is the what? And to be intimate with her. Like, number two, also likewise, it removes every brothers, sisters, I can hear you talk. It removes the affair of brothers don't laugh and sisters please don't laugh. This is a serious matter. That the woman loses out on the ladha, the pleasure that she gets out of the what? Of being intimate. Now, people don't laugh. Like I said, we're taking this seriously. I don't want to be like some people, some hizbis. No, it's a serious matter. This is something pertaining to our households and what we need to do. And we have the right direction, the right guidance to perform our marital affairs properly. You understand, everyone? Tayyib. So, we say that, number two, that the woman loses out on the ladha. And this is not my kalam, it's the kalam Ahl Ilm. They mention that. Sheikh Salih Fawzan even mentions that in the Sharh. He mentions that. He said the woman loses out on the pleasure that she gets. And also the man. He loses out on the pleasure. And some men, it can harm them. So based upon their health, yes, they say sometimes to the point where if a man is, of course, he's in the midst, and then he has to stop and remove. It could cause harm in a certain type of way. You understand? So, and also the woman loses out on that pleasure that is from the maqasid of the zawaj, which is from the intent of marriage, in order to what? For the spouses to enjoy each other in that aspect, so it can keep their private parts chaste. In the British, they say chaste. I think they say both here in America, chaste or chaste. As far as to keep the private parts chaste or chaste, both of them, then a person should try to what? Fulfill their desires with their spouse to the best of their ability. You understand? And from what loses that takes that affair away is what? Practicing withdrawal. So, like we said, it's two conditions that have to be fulfilled. But if those two conditions are fulfilled, and the wife say, for example, no problem, then a person could what? Practice azl. Understand? I'm going to read the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. Look at the Jam' Sheikh al-Imam al-Albani. He said, Jawaz al-azl. وَيَجُوزُ لَهُ يَعْزَلْ عَنْهَا مَا وَفِيهِ أَحَدِيث. He says, permissible for a man to withdraw his semen. He says, first the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. First the hadith of Jabir that we just mentioned. The Prophet ﷺ said that we used to what? We used to perform azl. We used to withdraw during the time of the Prophet ﷺ, and the Quran was being revealed. Why did Jabir say the Quran is being revealed? Because if it was something impermissible, Allah would send an ayah down. Sisters, I can hear you guys talking on the other side. Yes, we can. Can you hear it? Can you hear it? Can you hear it? I'm just asking the brothers over here. Can you hear it? Did you hear something? Didn't you hear something? Am I crazy? Did you hear something? Yes. So we hearing. So sisters, I'm not. Well, sisters, calm down. SubhanAllah. All we know is that we hearing a voice. I mean, am I hearing something? Did you hear something? Is it from them upstairs? I could have swore I heard them. Did you hear something? So you heard something too. So I'm not the only person.
That's not us. That's not us.
It's not you either, Musa?
No.
I don't know. So if we got 5 people out here that all heard a voice of a woman. All of us heard it, but like anyway. So the jam' that you'll find with Imam al-Albani, So you'll find Imam al-Albani that he mentioned, said that we used to perform azl during the time of the Prophet ﷺ, and the Quran was being what? Revealed. That's the first hadith. You'll find that it's in your books of Buloogh al-Maraam, it's in there. Also the hadith of Jabir bin Abdullah, same narration, that during the time of the Prophet ﷺ, this affair used to be conveyed to him, and he would not prohibit us. That applies to what we just mentioned a couple of minutes ago. لا يجوز تأخير البيان عن إيش وقت الحاجة. It's not permissible to put off clarification at the time when it's needed. The Prophet ﷺ did what? Not permissible as far as we're saying to the Prophet, it's not permissible for the Prophet ﷺ, meaning that the ayat, the wahy is protected. And if it was something that was opposing the kitab and sunnah, what Allah is revealing, and it made Allah angry, and Allah was not pleased with this matter, Allah would have sent the ayat down. You understand, everyone? طيب. Also, secondly, second hadith was also Abu Sa'id al-Khudri. He said, جاء رجل إلى رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم فقال إن لي وليدة. This is another narration that's not in Buloogh al-Maraam. He says, إن لي وليدة وأنا أعزل عنها. What is in there? Hold it. Yes, it is. But it's kind of the wording is slightly different. It says, إن لي وليدة. This one says here, إن لي جارية. So the word is slightly different. Verily, here in the narration of Buloogh al-Maraam, it says Jariya. The narration that Imam al-Albani brought said Walida. Just means the same thing, female concubine, female slave. He says, for verily I used to practice withdrawal, and I want a man, and I want what men want. Verily the Yahud, what time is it? Oh, we got to stop soon. Once I'm ready, this will stop. He says, I want what men want. And verily the Jews say that if a person does this, then they have fell in what they call al-wa'id al-khafi, or the minor wa'id, as we talked about and said that the meaning is burying one's child alive. So they would consider that burying one's child alive, practicing withdrawal. He says, so the Prophet ﷺ has said, the Jews have lied, and there's another narration, he repeated it, said the Jews have lied, the Jews have lied. He said, look, if Allah Ta'ala wants to create something, you will not be able to what? To repel it. You will not be able to what? Take it away or repel it. طيب. Also in that same hadith, and we'll talk about inshallah, is a refutation against the Qadariyah. It's a refutation against those who say that Allah Ta'ala does not have control, rather the slaves their control of their own actions and destiny. We said that's correct to only a certain extent, but the actual Mashi'ah, at the end of the day, if Allah wants something, and if Allah wants to hold something back, the final affair goes back to Him. Even though we still at the same time have our own Mashi'ah, even though we have our own will and our own free choice. But at the end of the day, the final, ultimate affair returns back to Him subhanahu wa ta'ala of what He wants. Of what He wants us to have and what He does not want us to have. You understand, everyone? طيب. That's from the other benefits of the hadith. طيب. Also the next hadith on the authority of Jabir, all these are the hadith to show this permissible. That's basically what we're narrating. All these hadith shows permissible. Also the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, that Jabir bin Abdullah, verily I have verily I have a jariyah, verily I have a female concubine, and she services us, or she's a servant for me, and she also sanitana, or sanituna. What's that mean? Sanituna means that she waters the nakhl, or she waters the date palm trees for us. The sanituna. And he says, Ana atufa alayha, and I'm intimate with her. But I detest that she becomes pregnant. So the Prophet ﷺ said, I'zil anha, in shit. He said, practice withdrawal if you want. If you want. Which shows us what? Permissible. He says, however, فَإِنَّهُ سِيَأْتِيهَا مَا قُدِّرَ لَهَا. We already read this narration. He said, but however it's going to come to her, what's been what? Preordained and destined for her. So the man had waited, there's a time that elapsed, and he came back to her, and the Prophet ﷺ had informed that what? She's pregnant. She's pregnant. طيب. So we have the hadith to show this what? Permissible. Then Imam al-Albani brings another title. He says, however, what is most appropriate is leaving it off. That's the kids upstairs. That's Musa and Ayande. Sisters, I apologize. I see, I'm humble enough to put my ego to the side, and I'm humble enough to say I was wrong, I apologize. I'm sorry. That was them upstairs. That's Musa and Mayande. Are we good? Not any? Come downstairs, you guys. Come downstairs. Just come downstairs. But Imam al-Albani said it's better for one to leave it off. Tark al-azl. And he says exactly what we just mentioned. The Imam al-Albani says the first reason أن فيه إدخال ضرر على المرأة لما فيه من تفويت لذتها. That's exactly what we just said. فإن وافقت عليه ففيه ما يأتي. He says, number one, he says because it will afflict a harm upon the woman of what is in it, of what she misses out on pleasure. She misses out of what? Of pleasure. However, if she's in agreement with it, then in it was in this matter, what we're mentioning is something else. He says he's going to mention it. He says, secondly, why it's also impermissible, it removes the maqasid al-nikah. It removes the reasons of why people get married. Why, everyone? Because in order to what? In order to make that progeny and make the ummah grow. And make the people grow. And we're not like the kuffar. As we'll talk about that benefit next week, inshallah. How Allah Ta'ala remove the ideology of, for us, for example, carrying removing the ideology of, for example, let's not have a lot of children. We're going to be impoverished. We're going to be poor. We're going to be poor. SubhanAllah. We're going to. And Imam Muhammad Salih al-Uthaymeen brings benefits on that. And it's not time to talk about it here. But he brings benefits on that. He brings a lot of benefits on that. He said where Allah Ta'ala in his ayat says that the children you have, it's upon him, he'll provide for them. He'll provide them and open the doors of provision more for you. You understand? That's the reason why in the same context of the ayat, Allah Ta'ala says in his book in one ayat, وَلَا تَقْتُلُوا أَوْلَادَكُم مِّنْ إِمْلَاقٍ نَحْنُ نَرْزُقُكُمْ وَإِيَّاهُمْ. There's an ayat where Allah flipped it. He put the aba first in the ayat, meaning the parents or the people, or the mom, the dad first in one ayat. Then he said he'll provide for the children secondly. Then you have another ayat where Allah said and gave taqdeem over the children over the aba. وَلَا تَقْتُلُوا أَوْلَادَكُمْ خَشْيَةَ إِمْلَاقٍ نَحْنُ نَرْزُقُهُمْ وَإِيَّاكُمْ. So the ayah has been flipped. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said he'll provide for them, then you, meaning the parents. Meaning, what's the hikmah, what's the ishara or the latifa or the fa'idah, latifa in this? What's the benefits that we extract from why he was arranging those ayats in different ways? Why? Because Allah Ta'ala was addressing a certain type of people in one ayat and addressing another certain type of people in another ayat. One ayat, he's addressing people who are poor. He says he's directing for people who are impoverished. Meaning that we'll provide for the parents, and we'll provide for what? For the children. So he's addressing the what? Those who are impoverished, don't have a lot of money. The other ayah, and I'm going to get to the benefit of why is an arrangement to this. The other ayah was pointing towards people who are rich. So he started off with the children, and then secondly, the what? The parents, people who have money. Why would he talk about people who have money when they already have money to spend? They might feel, number one is, they might lose their wealth, or their wealth will be depleted. Or, what will come as a result of it is we'll talk about, inshallah, some type of embarrassment, or some type of what they call, some type of embarrassment, or some type of ar, some type of bad, evil, affairs will come as a result of it. As we'll talk about that, inshallah. Or so they out of afraid that their money will be depleted. So Allah Ta'ala, and the second ayah is addressing the what? The rich people who do have money. So they because some people are rich, they don't want their money to go. So they'll probably be even more penny pinching with their money. So I'm not going to spend on my children. Man, I got to spend on my kids again. So for what comes, you have people, what? These days at times, are you serious? In America, people care about their children? You live in a place where people out there, especially the men, subhanAllah. You find men out there to drive the 2015 car, and you say, what happened to your child? Oh, man, I'll handle that. I got that. What? You understand? Priorities switch. But anyway, so this high right here, ya ma'ashal ikhwa, the second reason why it's impermissible is because of what? Because we said the number two is because it removes and lessens the lineage. And the Muslim does not fear this. He doesn't kill his children out of poverty, because the ayah says it clearly. Do not kill your children out of fear of poverty. And we know we live in those in the time of Arab, and during the stories that we have heard here in America. Children, women throwing their babies where? In the trash. Finding their baby in the trash. Why? Fear of poverty. Fear I can't take care of them. And how many women do we know when they have children, Allah gives them strength to take care of them? Gives them instinctive strength, and Allah starts opening doors of money for them, making it easier for them. I've seen so many stories. It is witnessed with your own eyes. Allah makes it easy upon women for them to get money when they have the children. The man might even not be anywhere. And you'll see Allah opening the doors up for them for money so they can provide for the children. Because Allah has said in His ayah, do not kill your children out of what? Fear of poverty. And then in the ayah, it's addressing those who are impoverished. And in another ayah, it's addressing those who what? They do have money. Both. One is addressing the aghniya and one is addressing the fuqara. You understand, everyone? Which we'll talk about, inshallah, the next benefits of that class. We'll stop here, inshallah. But, so gather between all the hukum, or the ahkam, is that it's better for what? To leave it off. But it's still at the same time, it's permissible if it's fulfilled those two conditions. You understand, everyone? طيب. We'll stop here. هذا وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك وأشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت وأستغفرك وأتوب إليك.